I've been wanting to do this video for a while, so to say it's going live, I'm very excited, but I've always been unsure as to how to actually deliver it. So in this video, we're basically going to go through a literal framework that will teach you how to turn your followers and the people that are literally engaging with your content into actual paying clients. But you see, the thing that makes this different is I'm actually going to teach how to speak to every single one of your followers. We need to understand that not all followers are created equal. I'm sure we've all heard that somewhere before. I certainly have. But this framework will basically go through the prospect ladder, the prospect pyramid. It's sort of like a culmination of stuff that I've learned from past mentors, from books, and sort of like my own interpretations of how social media works. Now, the reason why now it makes sense to launch it is because one of the things that I'm working on is the content to clients course. Now, it's going to be completely free, accessible to everybody. You'll probably even be able to get it in this video. But what I'm doing actually right now is I'm actually leaking one of the modules. So this prospect ladder is something I use with my one-to-one clients. It's something I use with my literal people that pay me a lot of money, and I will literally work with it within their business. This is literally one of the exact frameworks that we implement within their business, something I implement in my business. It served me very well in the past as well. So excited to go through it. The only way that this video is going to work is if you actually action this, because if you don't, or if you don't even have a big business to begin with, or at least the mindset to interpret this, how else are you actually going to resonate with this, and how is it actually going to benefit you? The only reason why any of this stuff that works that I talk about is because it is actually actioned. Anything that just sits an idea and sits as theory is really just stroking the ego, right? It gives you this sort of God complex that you know this stuff, therefore you don't have to action it, and it makes no sense. So if you are going to proceed in watching this video, that's fine, but you have to make sure that you have something to show for it by actually actioning the stuff. I'd be more than happy to reach out and help some of you actually put this into place, because some of you are going to have 1,000 followers, some of you are going to have 100,000 followers. It's going to be different as to how that implementation actually looks like. So you can drop comments, you can reach out to me on Instagram. This free course will literally cover, this is one module out of 9 modules that are set, and then I'm literally about to go in and film a bonus module now, so that's going to be a further 3 to 4 videos of that. So this section in and of itself is part of module 1. You could learn module 1 and change the game forever. You have all heard that decision, all heard that saying. I hear it all the time because I listen to that type of stuff. You're one decision away from changing your entire life. This is one of them moments right now. If you were to go forwards and watch this video, apply it, make good use of the actual free course that I'm going to be pushing forwards, there is an undeniable fact that you will start to make progress in your business, and you will see the results that I can get for you. So let's go jumping straight to the video. Get a notepad, get a pen, stop this distraction. This video isn't fancy, there's no edits, there's not even any captions on it. You've literally just got to rewire your mind, get rid of the dopamine stuff, and just pay attention. I see you in there. Alright, now we're getting into the fun stuff. So we're still in module 1, we're going over why your content isn't converting. But in this focus, we're going to look at the prospect ladder, the prospect pyramid. I'm unsure as to where I actually came up with this. It was a mixture of a couple of the books that I've read on strategy and focus on marketing, but then also from a couple of mentors that I've had of mine in the past. And essentially what this is it's basically looking at behaviours of your ideal client. Now there's other sections where we're going to pick apart what your ideal client should be and what type of content that you should be pushing out. But in this, we're going to focus on the behaviours of your avatar, the general behaviours that pretty much all audiences fit within. And we're going to break this apart, but what the basic states is we've got not problem aware, browsing the market, and then cash in hand, ready to buy. Now, let's first go over what most people do, and you'll see this everywhere. You can type in any fitness coach, any service provider, more often than not, you'll see this. Somebody's going on social media, they've got a basic bio in their account, got a standard, a link to or whatever, and all of their content, all it's saying is they post out an image of them training, doing maybe perhaps a little bit of a service, and then all it is it's just geared towards them. They're saying, if you want to do this, or I'm a personal trainer, I'm an online coach, I offer this service, link in my bio to apply. Link in my bio to buy this. And there is, again, I will always say this, there's always truth in telling people what to do, because as a leader that's what you need to do. But a mistake that people make is their content is completely one-dimensional. All they're focused on is getting people to buy. Now let's just say, for easy sake, you've got 1,000 followers. This basic, you'll notice that this pyramid is designed, this triangle of sorts is designed in a way that cash in hand, ready to buy is the smallest segment of the area. And what that basically means is if you've got 1,000 followers, only around 10%, if not less, I think when we actually look at it from a statistical point of view, it's maybe even below 5%, are at a stage where they're cash in hand, ready to buy. So if you are someone where when you are posting content, It's always about getting them to that final stage and telling them to do this and basically putting in your card details and give me money. You're only actually speaking to 5% of your audience, which means, or 10% of your audience, which means you've got a remaining 90% of people that you aren't even speaking to, you can't even relate to. Because as again, we've already mentioned that content is just communication with your words, your vision, your purpose, what it is essentially that you do and what you're put on this earth to do. So if you're only speaking to 5 to 10% of your audience, you're literally remaining like, no wonder you're getting no likes, no comments, no saves. You're posting all these stories, you're not getting any returns or replies from the stories because you're only speaking to a certain amount of people. And these people that are cashing hand-rated supply, they're looking at all these other different people as well. Like you're not anything special whatsoever, because for every person like you and they're cashing hand-rated supply, they're also cashing hand-rated supply for a load of other people as well. So even when you're telling people go do this, you're still not giving yourself the best shot. You should at best be focusing on something that makes you different. What is a USP? What's a benefit of your service? But still, people fail to do that. So let's go right to the back. Let's basically work backwards and essentially look at what does not problem aware mean and why is this the biggest section of your audience percentage or breakdown. Now this section basically means that for the people that are watching our content, because they are a follower, yes, but to follow someone, it's very low barrier to entry. I can click and I'm followed within a millisecond. I don't really have to have much of an emotional commitment as opposed to say joining your email list or paying for a program, right? So when I'm not problem aware, that basically means that your audience are following, but they're not even aware that anything is wrong with them. And as humans, we work off of this thing where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's why that saying is so popular. So they'll be watching our content, but nothing will be registering. There's this blockade where whatever you're saying, whatever your message is, it's not getting through to them because they're thinking, oh, it's okay, that problem, it doesn't apply to me. So I'm just going to continue scrolling past and I'll be on to the next video. That stage is very, very important because you'll notice that this is very tangible. So it slides up and it slides down. People can go to cash and hand ready to buy, but never actually buy anything and end up back at not problem aware because they'll be like, oh, I tried it in the past, but it didn't work. So this stage is extremely important. The reason why it takes up such a big section is because this is that first stage of conversion. This is that first stage where people are not problem aware, but you need to make them problem aware. So how do you actually do that? You ask questions. There'll be some sales strategy that we'll go into at some point in this course, but you need to be asking something that is open, something that doesn't require a yes or a no. It forces them to think. It creates this open loop in their mind where they're thinking, hang on a minute, I need to actually think about that because I might actually have a problem. And then that leads us into the next stage, which is it's not equally just as big, but it's still a very big section. These two sections alone will do more for your business than this section ever will, and that I will stand on. So problem where this is now where you've infiltrated their mind and you've basically got them to think, right, I have a problem, I need to do something about it. Because again, if we look at the nature of humans, when we have something wrong with us, when I have a broken arm, when I have I love perfume and stuff like that. When I have a perfume that is empty, that is a problem. I want to go buy it and I want to go refill it. The exact same thing happens here. If you can make your audience problem aware, they're going to start looking at the market. They're going to start thinking, who can help me get rid of my problem? Because I'm a human and I do not want to feel pain. It's how we are genetically hardwired. We want to be able to solve problems. We want to be able to move from pain and into comfort and pleasure. So this stage, what we're essentially doing is, you have this problem, did you know that you could do it this way? It's making them aware that there is a solution. They already have a problem, you now need to start looking at, did you know that you could be doing this? So if somebody is overweight, did you know that if you consume more protein, it's got a higher thermogenic effect, which means that you basically burn calories as you consume food. That to them will be like an aha light bulb moment because they won't even know that. Now you'll notice that both of these stages, we haven't even mentioned anything about selling, and rightly so. You should not even be mentioning your service. These stages here are either asking open-ended questions to get them to actually think about their problems, and if they are problem aware, you need to make them aware of what the other side looks like. Another key and a very sneaky point of this, I use this a lot in email marketing, is prod on their problems. If people can, or antagonize would be the correct word if we're using the AIDA framework. When people have a problem and you start to antagonize it, they're going to become even more irritable. Everybody's had uncomfortable conversations, but if you can actually start to prod on your audience's pain points at this problem, they're going to be like, get off of me, I need to do something about this, I need a solution, I need it fast. Now it's important, if we sort of look at this stage, if you can be responsible for converting from here right up until the end, you're going to have a 100% close rate. There is no way whatsoever that people can get to this stage and into browsing the market and you and still not want to buy. The reason why this stage is important is because if you can be the person, if your audience, imagine if you've got a client and think, you know what, I bought because of your content, that shows that you've made them problem aware and you've been the one to sort of plant that seed in their mind. Psychologically, they're going to become more, not attached to you, that'd be the wrong word, but more inclined to choose you, aside from the sea of other people, the sea of other service providers that are in your industry. Because you've been the one to get there first, they're going to want to browse the market, but really browsing the market, they're just looking at you. Now this stage here, browsing the market, that is basically where you just want to be pushing USPs. What essentially makes your service different? How are you an expert? Push out a lot of knowledge. This again is still not heavily seller focused. Most people know, because I've seen people do this and people do it well, it's an amazing strategy. People get to not problem where, and they drop the ball when it gets to browsing a market. Think, right, I've done something now, a little bit of value, and they just go selling on a frenzy. Like literally just buy this, link in bio, you know, whatever it is, they're just doing anything to get money through the door. Sometimes it does work, but it's still too premature. The idea of browsing the market is you just need to be posturing yourself as an expert rather than a generalist. Again, very, very simple story, very, very simple analogy, but if you've got a Bugatti, even a nice car, right? It could be something as simple as a Benz, right? If you've got something wrong with your car that is truly wrong, you're going to want to take it to the manufacturer as opposed to the local garage down the road. The local garage could probably fix it, but there is the very high likelihood they could monumentally fuck it up, which is not going to be a good thing, right? Because you know that by choosing the cheaper option, eventually it's going to come back and bite you where you're going to have to pay out more, which comes from the very saying of pay cheap, pay twice. So the idea here is that when you do have something wrong with your car, you take it to the manufacturer, take it to a dealership. Watches, for example, when you have a watch past a certain brand or price range, you send it off to that place to get serviced. You have a Rolex, take it into Rolex to get serviced. Richard Mille, the service features for them can cost more than some Rolexes as a full model. Like that's the type of leagues that you can get into when you truly want to pay for a specialist service. And that is the exact section that you want to be at here. Focus on what makes you different. Focus on how you're the specialist. This isn't like a chance to show off your ego, but it's really just sort of showing that if somebody has a problem, you are the person that is going to solve them and take them on that transformative journey. And then finally, we're almost back at where we was in the beginning of this video. So this section is where you want to be telling people where to go. But the idea of this is it's almost like kind of invisible. Like really, I could just sort of like scribble over it, because if you've done these 3 stages, naturally, by law of average, they're going to be in the cash in hand ready to buy stage. They're going to be knowing that your content is coming up on their page first thing in the morning. They see you consistently. Some people on Instagram or YouTube may even turn on alerts just so that they can be alerted when you are notified when you actually share content. That is a powerful pivotal point in your content career, so to say. But the idea of this section is it just wants to be very subtle. This actually wants to be closed. So if you're saying, you know, on a Sunday is generally when a lot of people tend to take action, the end of the month when payday comes in. So here, it just wants to be, I've got 5 slots opening up. I've got space if you want to jump on a coaching call. You sort of want to let them know, how does that onboarding section look like? How do they go from, I've got money and I want to buy, how do I become a client? You just want to tell them what to do. Does it need to go on for ages? You don't want to sell past the yes, which is a video that I can't actually make a wait to make on, because it's going to be so interesting. I've only just recently learned it. But you don't want to sell past the yes. You just want to say, look, let's get on a call, let's have a chat, let's see if it's the right fit for you. And if it isn't, fine, they go back in circles. That's not a you problem, that's them. But the idea of this stage is you're only actually speaking to a smaller part of your audience. But if you have already posted content, you're basically going to create this evergreen lead machine where people are always looking, you know, at what's wrong with them. They're always in problem aware. They're always browsing the market. So you're always going to have a segment of your audience at different stages, as opposed to just having 10% that are ready to buy, or 5% or less, or whatever it is, and the other 90% that are just dormant and unaware of who you are. Or they may know who you are, but again, they've got that blockade of how I'm seeing the content, but it's not resonating with me. You can follow this strategy, you're going to be onto a winner.